this to me has definite shades of Fritz Haarmann. Have you guys ever heard of Fritz Haarmann?
I have not. No. Tell us about this game.
You need another hug.
Well, so the game seems to be oddly, I guess, not reminiscent, but has similar themes to the crimes perpetrated by Mr. Fritz Haarmann in Hanover, Germany in the late 1800s, early 1900s. This man, and we're kind of making light of it, but this man, it was extremely, extremely psychotic. He was a murderous fiend in Hanover, Germany during the late 1800s, early 1900s. He was born in 1879 and had, I guess what you would call a rough childhood. He had they were a poor family in Hanover, Germany, and he had a history of petty crimes as well as some pretty dastardly stuff, some pretty awful stuff. He was, I guess, arrested for indecency with small children at a pretty early age.
Oh, no.
And there was a trend that sort of continued throughout his life. His father was sort of a no-nonsense, like a coal miner or something in that area. He was like a blacksmith or one of those like salt of the earth type guys. And he sent Fritz Haarmann to military academy. And he was subsequently released due to apparent epilepsy. He was having epileptic fits.
Oh,
which I guess,
was he watching Pokemon
or playing weird fucking arcade games?
Weird late 19th century video games.
Yeah.
Those are the weirdest ones.
Those are the weirdest ones.
It's just like a candle behind like some oil paintings. You just like turn the crank.
It's this glass of port that just doesn't empty. You just gotta keep drinking it. Right now.
I like that game. I always win.
There's always this silhouette of a man with a mustache just stooped over going, I coughed up a rose! Coughing into the video game speaker.
So yeah, he had all that stuff going on. He continued these petty crimes, and also again, I'm not sure what was going on with the police work in Hanover, Germany at the time, but he continued to get released and picked up on multiple charges of indecency with children and thievery. He was getting into different grifts around town. He was stealing from warehouses and getting in with import-export, like dock workers, to like rip stuff off. His dad eventually gave him ownership of like a fish and chip shop in the area, and he immediately robbed the place blind.
He robbed his own chip shop?
He like just stole all the money that his dad gave him.
There's always money in the chip shop.
I was just about to say that.
Eventually, he went to he joined the army officially in was it 1900?
After all that,
In
they still let
1903.
him in, huh?
So he's like in his early
Well, why
20s.
not?
Right. He joined the army in 1900 and was honorably discharged in 1903. During the time, he had a wife that he left when she was pregnant, and I think that's what started his military career. He ran off to join the army after that happened. So this is not a good guy, right?
Right.
When he gets back, it gets even worse. So he hooks up with a man called Hans Grans.
Okay. Hans Grans.
I couldn't know what that is.
Hans Grans.
Hans Grans.
Hans Grans.
Hey, speak nothing but good of the dead. All right.
Right.
Well, these guys are assholes, so we can get into it a little
They
bit.
were psychopathic murderers.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, all right.
So
Touche,
Hans
touche.
Grans was a local pimp / ne'er-do-well, kind of just like a shady, like, your neighborhood kind of asshole guy.
Well, if you name your son like Hans Grans, it's
Hans Grans didn't
that's what
have-
he's going to grow
Yeah.
up to be.
He had no choice.
Yeah,
he didn't have
yeah.
like a really good start.
No.
But so when Hans met Fritz, which sounds like the perfect German love story, they ended up hooking up. They were lovers.
Really?
No connection. No connection. Let me just
Well,
say
you're
that.
saying that,
Yeah.
but let's dig deeper.
Oh, God.
So Hans and Fritz began their whirlwind romance late in 1918.
So a little bit later in life, like they're got to be what, late
Maybe
30s?
getting like 30.
Late 30s?
Yeah. And obviously Hans was already into doing this sort of shady shit around Hanover, Germany, and Fritz was in. So they basically started I don't want to say murder for hire, but they were profiting from the murder of local wayward youths in the area. Apparently during the time, Hanover was there was a wash of refugees from the war in that area, and there were a lot of refugee camps, homeless boys wandering the street, and things like that.
Think about how in Europe, where the refugee crisis is happening, there's got to be some crazy serial killers operating at high volume right now.
Well,
Because,
definitely in Greece right now. Greece has a rampant pedophilia ring going on. Because it's so cheap.
By Hillary Clinton.
So Hans in Hanover,
Hans and Fritz
Hans and Fritz
in Hanover.
in Hanover. Thank you. They for I'm going to say it looks like it was close to about 7 or 8 years. They killed what they ended up admitting to were about 47 victims.
47.
The way
That's
that
quite a count.
the way that they ended up being implicated was that so I guess their MO was to find the bodies, create the bodies.
That's what serial killers do. They create bodies.
Yeah.
They take people.
It's a real
and create
euphemism.
bodies.
That's like synergy.
Yeah.
It's like if you can imagine the flow chart.
If somebody ever uses the word synergy around you, they're probably a serial killer.
Did you kill these people? No, I created
I
bodies.
synergize
Yeah.
their energies.
And also, if they use DNA, rubber gloves, or ejaculate around you, they're all fucking serial killers.
Yeah, that sounds pretty.
Unless they're a doctor.
Yes.
Well,
Or
even
describing
doctors-
a hell of a fun weekend.
Unless their name is Dr. Giggles.
Yeah.
Or Dr. Acula.
Stay away from
Or
anyone with like
Banicula.
doctor and then just a word afterwards. Like that's not. You need a last name after the word doctor.
Dr. Daniel Magic Stone.
Yeah, exactly. So again, their MO was to find these boys and lure them with whatever, a meal or a shelter for the night, and kill them and dismember them. Put the sort of identifying human remains. They threw them in the Leine River, Leine, Leine.
And this is in Germany?
This is in Hanover, Germany. They were just throwing.
We can't pronounce anything that's not American on the show.
Nope.
Sorry, guys.
We don't know what you're talking about.
Call in and correct us. Basically, they found, they being the Hanover police, found 2 skulls in the river, both chalked up to quote-unquote probably mischief pranksters.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I get. Well, this is in you probably the mid 1920s.
I would say, yeah. Like, let's call it. Yeah, it looks like about 1918 was
Jesus.
the first time that Fritz was actually incarcerated for. During this time period, before obviously he had done small stints for his petty crimes and then also his indecency.
But mischief for 2 skulls in a river. That remind me never to travel back in time to April
Hanover.
Fool's Day in Hanover, Germany.
We're like, yeah.
It was hilarious. He crushed his skull to an almost recognizable dust. It was such a gag.
Germany before World War II was a different place.
Germans any time, really. I mean, honestly, it's something's going on over there. Anyway, so there was some weird stuff going on actually with Fritz Haarmann. He actually, during his time as a petty criminal warehouse thief, he was an informant for the police.
Really?
And was quoted as introducing himself to different people as Detective Haarmann, even though he had never actually joined the police force. He took this kind of informant role very far. And one of the things that was really creepy that he started to do, and that eventually led to him being caught, was he visited the parents of one of his victims
really?
to interview
sick.
them essentially as Detective Haarmann.
Dude, that is just a pure power, like
Yeah.
It's a
highly
common thread in serial
sexualized-
killers.
Yeah.
It's a common
Yeah.
thread that they love to be around their victims. That when BTK, I think we talked about this before,
Right.
that BTK was installing security systems for people that were buying security systems to protect themselves from him.
Right.
Kathy Scott, also friend of the show. Kathy Scott said that one of the power moves for the LA fire department chief Orr was that he would be the first on the scene
To get to the lake,
He
yeah.
needed to see it burn.
And to get to the reactions of the people around
Right.
and just
It's
feel
all part
that,
of it.
that
Yeah.
sounds awful.
Also with the Black Dahlia murder, it was the same thing.
Oh,
He
yeah, you
positioned
told us
her
about that, yeah.
in an area that was very just degrading and
So
shocking.
that he knew someone was going to come across it. It wasn't hidden. So yeah,
At
this
least
is a similar theme. This was part of, like, I guess, to get you in the mindset of this person. He was pretty much completely insane, like completely deranged, right? This is a guy who killed, they found I think the number was over 500 bones, separate bones in the river after they did a search. And they said
over the river, like next to his house,
through the woods.
So what's actually funny is
house.
They went. Initially there was some after his quote unquote interview with his victim's family. There was some investigation pointed at him. He had another, I believe, indecency charge waged against him. Which again, at this point, we're talking about like 6-7 times before. The modern arrest of this guy. He had been in and out of police custody for, being just a weird like diddler around town and like stealing stuff.
Yeah.
And at this point, they searched his house and they found multiple different blood stains, which they attributed to him running a quote unquote illegal butcher operation out of his house. And he later laughingly actually told prosecutors that the entire time he had the victim's head, I believe the boy's last name was Kane, wrapped in newspaper behind his stove as the cops were poking around in cupboards and drawers.
They didn't find it?
It was behind a stove on the floor. And sort of that speaks to the further insanity of this guy. He was, during his trial, which only lasted about 2 weeks, they said he was sort of grandiosely puffing on cigars and sort of making jokes about the audience in the room and stuff. This guy had no remorse at all for what he did, and in fact,
who's going to play him in the movie? Because someone,
well, we got a Fritz.
That's a good role.
We already got a Fritz.
Patton Oswalt.
I like that a lot.
You'll never get me.
Sort of like a weird charismatic
butt that I ate.
Oh God. So that was
I
honestly,
hear rump is very sweet.
Depends on the sauce, man. You got to have the right sauce.
Gotta have that butt sauce.
So
It's pronounced boucher. No, it's actually pronounced butcher. Boucher, my friend. Oscars 2020.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Cheap meat.
Yeah, basically they didn't find anything until he came forward and basically dropped the dime on Hans, his lover, and pinned one or two of the murders directly on him.
No, why would he do that? Because
so Hans had already
among thieves.
You commit 47 plus murders together. If you drop the dime on your murder partner, you know you're going to go down.
Yeah.
Wait,
The guy has
this is
no
very
problem
serious.
with
This is very serious. So, if you committed 47 murders with someone,
Right.
you would never drop a dime on them.
But I'm saying that.
Second question: what are you doing next weekend?
Right. Yep.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
Somebody keep tabs on these motherfuckers.
I'm writing it right now.
So, basically Hans was already incarcerated, and he decided, well, what the hell? He's already in for a penny, in for a pound, and gave him a couple of extra bodies to deal with. But once all the sort of stories got back around, they pinned about 47, I think it was 47, 48 murders on Fritz Haarmann, and found out, and he actually, the most chilling aspect of this story, he willfully admitted that his preferred method of killing his victims was to bite out their throat. Whoa! And after disposing of the more, I guess, recognizable parts of the human, the head and things like that, he would chop up the corpses and sell the flesh to local butcher shops as pork. Probably a lot of people in Hanover, Germany, unwittingly ate human flesh. Another interesting part to the story, I'd like not to continue to go on with this horribly macabre shit, but
but if I must,
they sent a butcher shop, actually got hip at one point and was like, what is this? Sent a hunk of the meat into the local constabulary, or the police department there, and they came back and said, oh yeah, it's pork. What the hell's what are you worried about?
Really?
Further adding to the seemingly inexhaustible ineptitude of the Hanover Police Department in the early 19th century.
But here's the thing: is that you have to realize that there was someone from Hanover at that time that went to that butcher shop regularly, that went on vacation and had some pork and said, "You know what? The pork is so much better back home.
so much better.
We just can't get the same pork that we get in Hanover. What is it? You know, I mean, and that they're just and once they found out, they're like, oh fuck."
Yeah, there was definitely panic after they realized that there were some initial reports, and this is also kind of chilling. Some initial reports were that they said there were probably close to 500 to 600 missing children in the area in just
Oh
1
my
year.
God.
Jeez, that's insane.
So they could only attribute about 47 of the bodies to Fritz Haarmann, but who knows?
Yeah,
at this
they're
point.
like, there's 500 bones in this river. DNA tests don't exist yet.
The hell?
Let's call it
the hell
40.
do we know?
We'll split the difference with you at 47.
47.
That's insane.
That's okay. That's messed up. All right,